Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm. And as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Monday, when we usually have a masterclass on the Constitution. Now, our guest, Professor Thompson, has not arrived to the studio as yet. I'm hoping he's on the way. I haven't heard from him, and usually I will hear from him if he cannot make it. But I haven't heard from him, so I'm hoping that he is on the way. In the meantime, though, in case you have not been paying attention, a hurricane is threatening portions of the Bahamas. And this is something that we need to be concerned about. We're getting updates as we speak. There he is, walking into the studio now. Come on in, Professor. With regard to the latest coordinates of the hurricane, we don't know by the time it gets to the Bahamas, if it continues along its course, at what strength it's expected to be, but we know that they are anticipating that it will be at hurricane strength. We're talking about Nicole. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And perhaps before the end of the show, we may be in position to give you some kind of an update on where we are at as it relates to Hurricane Nicole, and what islands in particular need to be concerned and preparing now for what seems to be an imminent threat to the northern islands of the Bahamas. I'm understanding that Abaco and Grand Bahama are once again in the line of fire. And those of you who believe in the power of prayer, I want you to please lift up the people of Abaco and Grand Bahama. Not that any island needs to be hit by a hurricane in this country, but they definitely don't need to be hit again. Lord knows, can't take much more, because they're still trying to recover from Dorian. And so, again, Professor, you might want to come a little bit more this way so they can see you on the camera. There you go. Again, in case you're not aware, there's a storm traveling that's expected to impact some islands in the northern Bahamas, including Grand Bahama and Abaco. And let's just pray that we are spared the worst of Nicole. All right, so Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson is in the house. Good to see you all dressed up today, man. You suit right down today. Oh, shucks. Like they say, oh, sucky, nah.
Thank you very much.
Professor, looking sharp, boy. I know what's going on, but for those of y'all listening on radio, man, GQ ain't got nothing on Professor today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well. And sometimes it's a change that one may have to make from time to time, but you never know when it might happen.
You got to let them know you still got it.
I certainly do. As young as I am, I still have it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got to let these young'uns know every now and again, you know?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
That's
So
right.
welcome back to the show. For
you.
those of you who are new around these parts, every Monday, we do what is called a masterclass. And we are doing a masterclass on the Constitution of the Bahamas. And Professor Thompson, being the constitutional expert that he is, has graciously agreed to sit with us on Mondays to go over the Constitution of the Bahamas, article by article, line by line, section by section, so that we can get a better understanding as a people of what our Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, has to say, how it relates to us as far as our rights, and how it relates to us as far as our responsibilities are concerned. If you have a question, the telephone numbers to call, 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272. The WhatsApp line for text messages only is 8010271, 8010271. So when we left off last week, Monday, I think we had gotten as far as Article 5.2.
Yes, that's
We
correct.
covered that,
Yes.
and we're looking to move towards Article 5.3 today.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm going to go ahead and read Article 5.3. And that's where we're going to pick up today. It says, let me see if I have to read anything prior to that. Okay, let me read the,
There will be a reference for Article 5.2.
yeah.
You're going to see that 3,
Right.
4, and 5. Yes, so
Right.
you may wish to
So I
cover
should
that.
read
Yeah,
from
read
5.2 and then
5.2,
5.3.
Then
Okay.
go on from there, yeah.
So it says, 5.2 says, any person who on 9th July 1973 possesses Bahamian status under the provisions of the Immigration Act 1967 and is ordinarily resident in the Bahama Islands shall be entitled, upon making application before 10th of July 1974, to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas. That's 5.2.
Yes.
Now, this is what 5.3 says, and this is where we pick up today, Article 5.3. Notwithstanding anything contained in paragraph 2, which I just read in
That's
this
right.
article, a person who has attained the age of 18 years or who is a woman who is or has been married shall not, if he's a citizen of some country other than the Bahamas, be entitled to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas under the provisions of that paragraph unless he renounces his citizenship of that other country, takes the oath of allegiance, and makes and registers such declaration as may prescribed, provided that where a person cannot renounce his citizenship of the other country under the law of that country, he may instead make such declaration concerning that citizenship as may be prescribed. I'll read it again. Notwithstanding anything contained in paragraph 2 of this article, a person who has attained the age of 18 years or who is a woman who is or has been married shall not, if he is a citizen of some other country other than the Bahamas, be entitled to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas under the provisions of that paragraph, unless he renounces his citizenship of that other country, takes the oath of allegiance, and makes and registers such declaration as may be prescribed. Provided that where a person cannot renounce his citizenship of the other country under the law of that country, he may instead make such declaration concerning that citizenship as may be prescribed. All right. So let's break this down in regular English.
That is true. Yeah. You see how I'm amazed how the language is written.
Yeah, they make
And
it
I
hard for you to
tell-
understand.
No, it's very, very difficult. This
Yeah.
is why you find constitutional law is very difficult to understand. There are no easy answers.
Right.
And so you will find that a lot of people who go into law just simply backs away from it.
Okay.
Okay. And I find myself, when I looked into the Constitution, I always wanted to know, like when I look at any statute law,
Mm-hmm.
I always look at it in light of the Constitution. I
Mhm.
keep in the back of my mind, is it constitutional?
Right.
Okay? So I can do that now because I studied constitutional law.
Mhm.
So anytime I look at a statute law, I can have a better understanding of it. But you'll find that the Constitution, like how you were reading it, the way how the language is written, it talks about this entitlement that, a person would have.
Mhm.
According to Article 5.2, these are persons who were here under the provision of the Immigration Act
Right.
of 1967.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people here who are qualifying for citizenship under the provision of that act. That is people who would have been ordinarily resident in the Bahama Islands. People who are living here. Not person who might come today then go tomorrow. But they would have to be working. They would have to be legally in the country, having provisions under the Immigration Act.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, you come to 5.3, where it says, notwithstanding what is contained in Article 5.2.
Right.
Okay? And the thing is that I look at it and I say to myself, if we don't pay attention to detail, you can have a whole lot of errors being made.
Mm.
All right? And the way how it is written, you have to take it piece by piece by piece.
Line by line.
Line by line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that is the best way to explain it to the Bahamian people, because the ordinary person just reading that or looking at it
Straight over the head.
goes straight over their head, and they would not understand it.
Well, I've had lawyers say to me, Michelle, I can't answer that. We need a constitutional lawyer.
Well, exactly. That is
Yeah.
true. That is quite true, because they would not have studied it. And so you find now in our country with all these problems, and people are asking a whole lot of questions about the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I am happy that people are interested in the Constitution. Michelle, I've waited 50 years for this day.
Right.
And it is of importance to the nation that people understand what does the Constitution say on this particular issue.
Right.
The Constitution is final.
Mm-hmm.
Statute law must blend into what the Constitution says.
Mm-hmm.
So in this particular case, notwithstanding what's in 5.2,
Mm-hmm.
it talks about a person attaining the age of 18,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And or who is a woman. Remember now, you have the woman factor in there, who was married or is married.
Mm-hmm.
See the two factors right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you'll find also if a husband dies. But there's a date in there, Miss Malcolm,
Mm-hmm.
July the 9th, 1973.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people might overlook that, but see, the date is extremely important. The woman will have to be married or is married as of that date or in that marriage state at that particular time coming forward.
Okay.
That is extremely important. In order for that individual to qualify, that is one point that has to be filled. And of course, there's some others in there as well
Mm-hmm.
that must be paid attention to. And if we don't pay attention to detail, we're going to run ourselves into problems. So here's a person 18 years of age, working in the Bahamas under the Immigration Act, all right, and meeting other conditions. And remember now that even in this particular case, they are entitled. Now, notice the word entitled. See, that's a key word in the document.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean that a person is entitled upon making application? You're entitled to something.
Right.
In this case, citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
But that entitlement, the right to it, is subject to some other things.
And this is where we run into problems.
This is where we
because
run into problems because you see, when the person looks at the word entitled,
They think it's just
they
automatic.
think it's automatic,
Mm-hmm.
that you have a right to it. Yes, you have a right to it, but it also says subject to certain specific things being met. In other words, the right is subjected to. Talks about national security and public safety. And we will cover that as we go down. But the point is, it's very important that those who are dealing with these issues look carefully at the law.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you make a mistake, it could be fatal for the nation. Because you were careless in your duty. You did not do what you were supposed to do. And it creates problems. We have now in our country today a whole army of people from an entity that was never part of the British Commonwealth. How did that happen? And as I go through these articles on citizenship, I will keep asking myself the question, because there's nothing so far in the Constitution that speaks to that. How did that happen? If we were following the constitutional provisions in relation to citizenship, how did it happen? I just put a question out there. The public can think about that because we're going to have to deal with that. How did it happen? When so far we do not see any evidence whatsoever in the supreme law of the land for such a conundrum to be in our country. But it is there.
So let me ask you something, Professor.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that very often when it comes to the judicial system, they look at precedents. So, which I think is ironic because nothing is going to have precedence unless somebody takes the first step to make it happen. Then you could say you have precedence.
Yes, ma'am.
But oftentimes you would hear the argument, well, there's no precedence for that. So let me ask you, in a case where it comes to constitutional law,
Yes.
because clearly you are suggesting that some mistakes were made,
Oh, big mistake.
and this is why we have people who are getting in through that loophole who should not be getting in. So my
That's
question is
correct.
this. Do you believe that our judicial system, or whoever the personalities are who are responsible for issuing these citizenships, are they going on precedence rather than what the Constitution says? In other words, somebody, according to what you're saying, made the initial mistake.
Yes, big one.
And as opposed to correcting that, we see the mistake being done again and again and again
is
and
correct.
again. So should not at some point somebody within the system stop and say, hold on,
Hold on. Yes.
even though this was a precedent that was set, even though we may have been following this incorrect precedence for this long, should we not now begin to do the right thing based on what the Constitution says?
Precisely. See, that is my argument. Because, see, I always tell people, you have nothing to stand on. If Article 2 says something that is very specific and very clear,
Mhm.
well, then I'm not interested in that because the Constitution is supreme. The precedents that may have been set could be dead wrong. See, I tell people plainly, a person sitting in a judicial position can make an error. We have seen the evidence of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the woman in Bangtown who got an opinion. The fellow sitting on the bench, he got an opinion too.
Right.
He doesn't have a right, or she doesn't have a right to make law. Of course, there's another part of the Constitution that deals with that, but we ain't go into that right now.
Mhm.
That'll take too long.
Mhm.
But all I am saying is, Ms. Malcolm, the Constitution speaks specifically to certain things that are ingrained in the document, and we should be following those things that the Constitution says we ought to follow. Now, somebody said a bad precedent. That's a big problem. We should correct that. And the problem needs to be corrected because we cannot continue in error. That means if someone steals something, do they have a right to keep on stealing or misappropriating monies that have been assigned to them because somebody said to president 10, 15 years ago?
Mhm.
Does that make it right?
Of course not.
It does not, right?
Mhm.
So I'm saying where the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas specifically says this is what ought to be done, that should be followed. There's nothing higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what no other entity says, because Article 2 says specifically if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, the inconsistency shall not prevail. The Constitution prevails. And obviously, when we look at these articles, we don't see anything in those articles so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll ever see anything in there when we cover the whole thing. That this conundrum that we are faced with today, obviously it needs to be corrected. And it's going to take the government of the Bahamas to do something about it, because then you see the nation suffers. Anytime when something is allowed to go uncorrected for too long, and this has been 50 years now, going up to next July, right? The country suffers. And you keep suffering. So what has to happen, therefore, it has to be corrected constitutionally as is stated in the document.
But I think a part of the challenge is that we have one or two lawyers out there who are very, very loud and vocal.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's a matter of intimidation when they go into court. I don't know what it is, but they seem to be very good at winning these cases
Yes.
that are, according to what you're saying, based on error.
Yes. Because see, if you are loud and making a lot of noise, empty barrels make the most noise. All right? You throw down a full barrel, it falls in one place. A barrel that's empty just roll all over the place, making all kind of noise. If we're going to allow personalities who got big mouths, and there's no legal basis for it, and if that's how we're going to operate our country, then we in trouble. We're in serious trouble. We're supposed to be what? I keep hearing this, a nation of laws. But then let's go by the law. Because when it comes to constitutional issues, the law is there.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got to worry about no bad. If a person set a bad precedent back then, that precedent need to be thrown out.
Right.
Because it's not according to law.
Mm-hmm.
So if we allow a particular personality or group of individuals who think they got plenty mouth, they make plenty noise, and they intimidate the court, then we got a problem. It's a serious problem. Now that could be fixed. If the court don't fix it, there's another way to fix it. And people don't understand that. That's in the document too. It can be fixed, Ms. Malcolm. I tell people that all the time. No one particular personality sitting on any bench has that kind of influence to continue to keep people in error. When we know better and can do better and can do something about it. Mm-hmm. Too many times people just sit back and say, oh, it's nothing negative. I say, oh, no. There is something you can do. And then sometimes in Malcolm, we keep looking at what the other fellas doing over there. Oh, see what they're doing over there?
Right.
That bothers me a lot. You know why? Because of distraction. You ain't getting me distracted on any funny things that some people out there are doing away from the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution is supreme, not the views of that particular entity that's out there. Now, they're entitled to their view, not a problem. I tell people that all the time. I ain't getting into that. But what does the Constitution say? See, that's what's important. What does the Constitution say? And that is why I work very hard to make sure that when I come on the radio station to speak about the Constitution, I put aside my own differences, because that's not important.
Right.
I have to say to the Bahamian people what I know that I know the Constitution says. That's the only thing that's important.
Mm-hmm.
My personal view on something means nothing. There's a woman in Baintown, she got her view too. The man in Foxton with them 6 girls, he got his view too. So my personal view ain't no better than theirs. I don't know where people get this nonsense from. Because somebody is in a particular position, they have a view better than you. If you show me that in the Constitution, I'll believe it. But the Constitution doesn't support it. Mm-hmm. It gives people the right to have opinions, ideas that they can express, and nothing wrong with them expressing it. But now, whether it's right or wrong, that's a whole horse of a different color.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Got to pay some bills. On the other side of the break, we're going to continue looking at Article 5.3 of the Constitution of the Bahamas, line by line, to get a fuller understanding of what it says, what it means. It's like the former Prime Minister used to say, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. GPS is brought to you by the Optimus Bahamas virtual town meeting on the topic, Should We Vaccinate and Mask Children? Monday, November 7th, 7 p.m. Visit optimusbahamas.com for details. Optimus Bahamas, sharing our community's strengths and stories.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Track Life, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company, along with the Honorable Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson. If you say, Michelle, I didn't know he's honorable, more honorable than some of them who got the official title, but that's another story.
That's another story.
I digress.
I bet.
Let me stay focused. Stay focused.
Stay focused, yeah.
The telephone number is to call if you have a question about the Constitution. 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line for text messages only is 801-0271, 801-0271. So Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson is our guest. Every Monday around these parts, we do what is called a master class on the Constitution of the Bahamas. And in today's show, we're covering Article 5.3 of the Constitution. So we've already covered the fact that notwithstanding what is contained in paragraph 2, the attainment age for applying for citizenship is 18. And we have established that a woman who is married or has been married can apply.
Yes, they certainly can apply.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
According to law. Yeah.
what prohibits an applicant from applying, according to where we are in the Constitution?
What would prohibit an applicant from applying is that if they have not attained the age of 18 in this particular section, and of course, there are some other things that are not specifically mentioned in there, because if an individual continues to, doesn't renounce, which, it talks about further on down renouncing citizenship.
Right.
All right. That is a key factor. Again, you have two other points that I want to mention. In the interest of national security and the interest of public safety, an individual could be denied. Now, what I have noticed is, and I keep asking myself the question, when these applicants are being examined, how serious are we looking at the national security of this country? That's one aspect of it. And two, the safety of the public as they move freely in this environment, which is relatively a safe environment. What are the qualities of the people that we have, the kind of people we have to be accepted as a citizen of this country? These are factors we need to look at very seriously. The background of that particular person. Because the thing is, you may have a terrorist, and sometimes they, look like a terrorist. A demon comes as an angel of light. And so they put on this pretense. And you have to have people with wisdom and understanding to be able to make a determination, because I know of a particular case where a particular individual got citizenship by false pretenses. Been traveling all the way to England. So you're going to find that some very serious mistakes were made from 1973, July the 10th, 1973, right on up to now, because the evidence is overwhelming, Ms. Malcolm. And I make no apologies for that. That's why we're in the predicament we're in today as a nation, because nothing was done, in my view, to correct the problem. And it's growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. When the man said they had a particular number from a particular country in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the government was slapped right in the face. Immigration has not yet answered that particular issue. Why? Why couldn't someone from immigration deal with that right on the spot and say, no, it is, or yes, it is?
And you would think that they would be able to do so because of
course.
records that they would have.
Because of the well, let's put it this way, they should have the records. Because that was a slap in the face, a hard slap the government got that day, right in the office of the Prime Minister. That's where it happened. And the governor of the Bahamas has not yet responded to that accusation. So what are we saying? And now you're hearing about, from the Minister of Works, about committee to investigate this, investigate that, in relation to some other matters relating to the same issue with citizenship. When we have laws, see, we say we're a nation of laws, but then the law should be applied. If you are going to be governing the Bahamas, then govern. The people gave you the mandate. See, they like to talk about mandate, you know. That they have to govern. Well, then let's see you govern according, I always say, govern according to the Constitution. If the governor of the Bahamas would have governed this place according to the Constitution, we'd be far better off. We can't be going by feeling, Ms. Malcolm. The law has no feeling. The law is the law. The man said the wages of sin is death. But that's what you can get if you don't change, if you don't repent. But you can't just be making excuses when you feel one way today and then tomorrow you feel another way.
Right.
You don't run no country like that. But we can see by the evidence in our face that something is seriously wrong. I know what it is, but do the Bahamian people know what it is? And this is something, Ms. Malcolm, you can't take lightly. Because it's blowing up right in our face. And at some point, if we're not careful, something could happen which we may not wish to happen. But it could be avoided. And the Bahamian people avoid it. I will do all I possibly can to avoid it, because I know how to do that. But you need people in this country to know their Constitution. Ms. Malcolm, you can't fight if you don't have your tools to fight with. And you can't go by guesswork or how you feel, or somebody over there said this, or somebody in that far country said that. No. There's nothing supreme about that. Only the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is supreme. Not even the word of a minister is supreme. Not even the word of a judge is supreme. A judge ought to make a determination based on law. Not to try to write law or think they could make law. It's foolishness. That's unconstitutional. So it can't stand. So a person could, circumstances can cause that individual not to be unable to apply, ineligible.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
If an applicant holds citizenship in another country, what is required of them in order to be able to apply for Bahamian citizenship?
One of the things they will have to do is they have to renounce that citizenship of that particular country. But if, according to the law of that particular country, see, this is how it's in the document, so I'm trying to be as accurate as I can, they will have to make a declaration. Now, the declaration doesn't say they can give it to them, but the law allows for them to make a declaration for such a particular situation. But the Constitution says you are to renounce it. But then if you don't want to renounce it, you keep that. We'll keep ours, you keep yours.
What kind of record keeping is there, Professor? Because I've heard of cases where a person has a Bahamian citizenship, a
Yes.
Bahamian passport.
Yes.
They go abroad to work or go abroad to school or whatever, and somehow slip under the radar and end up getting status in the country where they moved to,
Yes.
but they never renounced their Bahamian citizenship. And so they're walking around with two passports. On the flip side, I know of persons who were born in the United States.
Yes.
And so, but therefore, according to the law of the United States, an automatic citizen of the United States, have a U.S. passport, but have strong Bahamian ties, would have moved here as a child, sometimes very young child,
Yes.
and still end up getting a Bahamian passport. So they walking around with two.
Yes.
So what kind of, is there any kind of,
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a very valid point. Now, see, the government of the Bahamas, this is where those who are given the authority to govern, we need to look at this very seriously. Because the Bahamas have been used as stepping stone by such personalities. It has happened over and over and over. The government has to make that determination. The Constitution does not support duality in citizenship, right across the board. Is it being enforced?
well, not in every case.
Obviously not as we see what's happening now. The Constitution doesn't support it.
Right.
So why is it being allowed? Why are the authorities allowing it to happen? If you want to be a citizen of that other country, fine, you go over there. I only have one, Ms. Malcolm. I got to keep that one. I want no others. But if a particular personality wants the citizenship of another country, they can do that. But you cannot have them skirting your supreme law. See, you have Bahamians now, Ms. Malcolm, and this is a fact, because I have people talk all kinds of things. They show disrespect. Another contempt, was I was on another talk show the other day. I had to tell the host, listen, I'm not having any conversation with that person. Total disrespect for the supreme law of the land, Ms. Malcolm. How are you supposed to accept that? Now, if you don't understand something, that's one thing. But when you come on the air and you show total disregard, disrespect for the Constitution of the Commonwealth, I got a serious problem with that. And you do not respect the work of the founding mothers and fathers of this country, who worked so hard to give us what we have, and you can tell me somebody just wrote something on a piece of paper and just handed it to them? You got to be crazy. I was there and I know better than that. So why are you perpetrating that kind of nonsense? So when Bahamians themselves show disrespect for the supreme law of the land, you see why I have to come on these shows? Because it could very well be, and I can give the majority of the Bahamians the benefits of 95% plus of them, who never knew the Constitution. But now you have an awakening, praise God for that, after almost 50 years now. An awakening by the Bahamian people to take an interest in this document called the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Maybe they need to do that. Maybe something has been missing. Pressure from without and pressure from within has been basically the two factors that have caused that to happen. But now that we have it, we can't, I ain't gonna lose it now. I can keep pushing this thing because I want 100,000 plus to be just like me. Because you see, if they be just like me, it could be no more crap what you see going on in this country.
Right.
You can shut it right down once and for all.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you can only make change if you are aware of what the situation is and why it needs to be changed. But if you are kept in the dark, then you don't see a need for change. But here's the thing. Anybody nowadays as long as you have internet access,
Yes.
you can get a copy of the Constitution of the Bahamas. Just Google Constitution of the Bahamas, and a PDF version will pop up, and you just click on that and download that, and you now have access to the document for yourself
Yes.
that you can go through and study and try your best to understand what it is saying.
That's correct.
So there's really no excuse nowadays.
No, it's no excuse whatsoever. Because when I started out in 71, we didn't have all this paraphernalia around here.
Right.
But see, I took an interest in the law because I had to go to see an attorney on something. And my mind told me when I came, I'd say, listen, you need to know the law for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got into constitutional law. But the point is that many people who would say to me that it wasn't put here in the schools and that sort of thing like that. And I said, now, listen, you got to talk to them fellas who you gave authority to run the country.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them why they didn't. See, I'm not interested in that anymore. 56 years has already passed since majority rule. Then you come up to January the 10th
Mm-hmm.
of next year. Miss Malcolm, you don't have another 56 years to wait. Now that we have all this technology around us,
Mm-hmm.
and as you yourself said, they could Google it, and the information, boom, press one button and right there in front of your face. So there's no excuse for not knowing. Now, they may not understand. Now, that's a whole horse of a different color.
Right.
That's where people like me have to come in to
Right.
help them.
Right.
So they have access to the information. And so I am so delighted that there is this awakening by the Bahamian people
Mm-hmm.
showing an interest in the Constitution, which strengthens my position too. I love this. Because then now we can begin to move in a direction to begin some things that we should have done a long time ago. But this is where we are now. We have to work with it.
Well, I guess you say better late than
Better
never.
late than never, yes.
So I want to encourage all of y'all out there listening to the show or watching the show, spend less time on TikTok,
You better believe it.
on Facebook and
Yes.
Instagram and wherever else you're spending time, and take a little bit of time to try to understand the Constitution of the Bahamas.
In fact, I have found out that I tell people all the time when I go with the constitutional documents, as Malcolm, I see new insight all the time. It's just like reading the Holy Bible. Every time you check the Holy Bible, you see a different insight.
New revelation.
New revelation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Holy Bible is always right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution is always right. It is never wrong. So it's good when I can do that, and then it refreshes my mind. So when I come on these shows, I can be as sharp as I'd like to be. But the point is, I want to give accurate and precise information
Mm-hmm.
to the Bahamian people, because I know more than 95% of them don't know. And I don't want them to continue not knowing or not understanding, because we can't afford to waste another 56 years.
Right.
We got to move quicker than that, because people out there are suffering, people out there are hurting.
Right.
And so people like me who know better, who can help them, I go in out there and I help them. Make sure we have some changes in this place for the benefit of the people. That's the whole purpose of having your Constitution.
Mm.
Because see, if the Constitution isn't being used for the advantage of the Bahamian people, then we got a problem.
Mm. Okay, so what if a person is unable to renounce the Constitution of the country other than the Bahamas that they may have citizenship in? Let's say somebody has citizenship in another country but is eligible to receive citizenship in the Bahamas based on what our Constitution says.
Yes.
But the Constitution of the country where they're coming from is written in such a way that they are unable to renounce according to that law of
law,
that
yes,
country.
That's correct.
What are that person's options?
Well, according to the Constitution, they must make a declaration to that.
And what does
That's
that mean
fine.
exactly?
In other words, they have to explain that to the authorities.
Mhm.
Now, I must say that as I understand it,
Hmm.
the Constitution does not support dual citizenship
Right.
because it says specifically that you must renounce.
Hmm.
Now, it See, like I said, some of these questions are very difficult to answer. So I would say that as far as I understand it, the Constitution says specifically, you are to renounce the citizenship of that other country. What's going to really happen is that, and it already has happened, we can have some issues, because if a person has dual citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
you can be loyal to one and disloyal to the next. We've already seen evidence of that.
Mm.
Now, what do we want to do in the Bahamas? Do we want to be disadvantaged? I don't think so. But then we have to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Since we know the Constitution doesn't support dual citizenship, why then are we allowing this thing to? See, we have to be very specific and clear to the people so they can understand, well, hey, this is what you have to do. Now, if you can't do that, we can't say, oh, Lord, you've been here so long. You can't operate like that. You have to tell him you didn't renounce, so you can't get it. It's just that simple. See, I think we got to take a tough stand when it comes to constitutional issues in this country. We've been playing around for too long, man. 50 years is a long time to be messing around with something so valuable, because what's going to happen is it's going to get less value, and then see, I is the citizen of the country, and then you're hating me now because it doesn't have the strength that it ought to have. It takes people to keep the Constitution strong, to watch your government, to what. See, I listen to what these ministers be saying, Listen to what they say and watch what they do. That is what the citizenry ought to be doing. And once you know the Constitution says specifically, you could tell the minister, no, sir, that's not constitutional. See, I could tell them because I know.
So we should never take it lightly when a politician says, I may have to violate the Constitution.
Oh, that was a big mistake.
We
That
should
particular personality. We should never take that lightly.
Right.
And I didn't see any uprising.
No, nobody said nothing.
Nobody say nothing. What kind of anyhow?
I was like, wait, what? Did I just hear what I just heard?
Yes, I heard it too. But I had to say something about that, being involved with the Constitution. And I can speak some more to it. Because when those things are put out there like that, what it does, it's feeding ground for some other fellas to come up with some other nonsense and foolishness. And then it keeps going like that because no one ever took corrective measures. We're going to have to do it. If the court doesn't do it, no problem. Let the court stay right there in that little room. They ain't got to worry about them no more. The Bahamian people have to take corrective action. And there is provision in the Constitution for that to happen. And when I hear people say, Professor, there's nothing we could do, I say, what do you mean ain't nothing you could do?
That's the beginning of dictatorship, to have that kind of attitude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It certainly is. I said our mothers and fathers fought to give us something that is extremely valuable. Listen, we got so much in that document that we could work with. We could knock down any kind of opposition. There was a time when we didn't have it. And the founding mothers and fathers had to fight so hard to get to what we have today. And I heard the two union leaders, the two umbrella union leaders, well, I don't think they're there anymore, but they have some other fellas in the seat. But they said, like, all these things we fought for labor has been rolled back. But the Constitution didn't change. How did they roll it back? Only if we allow it to happen. And therefore, the Bahamian people got to learn to understand, once you know it, you got to stand up and fight to maintain it. Because I can be right there. I ain't going nowhere.
All right.
Amen.
Let's take this break. When we come back, we're going to continue this masterclass on the Constitution with Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson here on GPS Global Paradigm Shift with yours truly, Michelle Malcolm. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. GPS is brought to you by the Optimus Bahamas virtual town meeting on the topic, Should We Vaccinate and Mask Children?
Monday, November 7th, 7 p.m. Visit OptimusBahamas.com for details. Optimus Bahamas, sharing our community's strengths and stories.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Track Life, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blasted love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company, along with Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson. On this Masterclass Monday, we are discussing Article 5.3 of the Constitution of the Bahamas. The telephone numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line for those who wish to send a text message is 8010271, 8010271. Speaking of which, we have a message sent via WhatsApp. This person says, please ask the professor if there's anything in the Constitution he would change or edit.
That's a good question. Yes. I have a suggestion.
Okay. Everybody's waiting.
That kind of question.
Everybody's waiting with bated breath.
Yes, they are. Now, remember, the Constitution is supreme. It's final.
Right.
Whatever it says, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But 7-1, we're going to close.
We can eventually get to that.
Article 7-1.
That's very, very controversial.
That's a very controversial one. And I can make a suggestion to very many people as to how we can change it, because it has been abused by persons who ought to know better, and it has not served us well in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and I'm very, very disappointed in that regard. But we could fix that. See, there's nothing saying
I need you
we
to
can't
come a little
fix it.
closer to that microphone for
Oh,
me. Yeah,
all
I
right.
need to make sure that people can
This
hear what
one
you're
here?
saying. Yeah, just come a little closer to it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's 7-1 is one that I would like to see change in more clear language,
Mhm.
so that there is no mistaking about anything, because there are some people who have a deliberate twist in their minds because it doesn't suit their purpose.
Mm,
And that's unfortunate. But you see, a person like me, I got to go by what the documents say.
right.
That's it. Case across the board.
We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Ms. Malcolm. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Wonderful. First time caller, avid listener.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, you're welcome. Question for Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Okay, I think we spoke a couple of years ago how difficult it is to put the Constitution on a CD form.
A CD form?
Yes, you know, like how they have, like you have the Bible, then put the New and the Old Testament on a CD.
Yeah.
How difficult it is to put the Constitution on a CD form. I think people will listen to that more often than to read the Constitution.
You may have a valid point, you know. I haven't thought of it like that, but now that you brought it up, well, you have my head thinking now. But it's a good suggestion. I couldn't give you the particulars of it because I'll have to discuss that with my associates. They'll be able to tell me. But I think it's a good suggestion. I'm going to mention that to them.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very good. That's why we have people to call in, because you know, you made a good suggestion. I think it's an excellent.
Yeah, and we could go even further. Is it possible that you could put it more like in another form just for children only, like for kids in school?
Oh, yes.
Like a cartoon character or somebody just to the Constitution, something like that.
Let me say this: the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas could be taught to them same little pigeons in the preschools. It could be designed to meet them right where they are. You can also do it for high school students, junior high, senior high, all the way up to the college level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that can be done. Yeah, that's a good suggestion too. Yeah. So,
yeah, but we'll have this. Yeah, me and you'll have this discussion a little further because I'm your neighbor.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. Listen, I'm old enough to remember growing up watching cartoons on a Saturday, and they used to have what was called Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes.
Where they would teach the children with little cartoon characters.
Yes.
In between commercial breaks, all the different things about, some were about English language, some were about the structure of the U.S. government, because these were obviously American programs you're watching.
That's correct.
So, you know, I remember, you know, I was a kid back then, but I remember that, you know, music is a very powerful tool to help you to retain information. So even though this was on air when I was a kid, I remember one particular one teaching children about how bills work in the United States system.
Okay.
And they had this forlorn looking bill sitting on the steps of the Capitol, the character of the bill.
Right.
And the song went, I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Yeah. Well, now. And so this was a really, like you said, meeting children where they are.
Of course.
To teach them.
Yes,
about their structure of their country.
Of their country, yes. We need to do that here. And it's going to require sponsorship to do it. I think it's an excellent idea that you brought up. I'm going to mention it to my associates because, see, knowing the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas is going to help the country in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm.
Because, see, then you can get rid of all of this unnecessary foolishness that's permeate the country. But the suggestions are very good. And I think we're going to work on it and we're going to get some results from it.
Yeah, I
Because
think
they
the
need it.
reason why I dare say that perhaps that idea has come up before, but the reason it was not done is for what we hear often, that perhaps they don't want the masses to understand the Constitution, because when you understand, then you know your rights.
Oh yeah, you know you're right. But I'll say this: but you could always bypass those particular personalities who think like that. See, I tell people all the time, there are avenues open to us now
Hmm.
in 2020. See, there's nothing they could do about that anymore.
Right.
Okay? So they could say that as much as they want. You just make sure you do not allow their kind of thinking to permeate your attitude and your behavior, that you neglect to do what you're supposed to do to help yourself. Because it doesn't have to be that way. It can change. And I'm happy that he brought up those suggestions. They're excellent suggestions.
Hmm.
Because we need to find creative ways to get the message right to the little pigeons in the pen. And we can do that. We have people who could be creative to do that.
Mhm.
But you have to know the Constitution now. You can't talk no nonsense. People have to understand and know what the Constitution says, and then we could take that and put it in a language that the little children can get it. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, that's
for sure.
possible.
Definitely, if it was possible from the time I was a
Oh,
child,
yes.
what more could be done now with all
Oh,
of
yes,
the technology?
with all the
and-
technology. All we got
Yeah.
is technology today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's get back to the questions as it relates to Article 5.3.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we may have covered this already, but the question is, will the fact that a person is unable to renounce the citizenship of another country make them ineligible to attain citizenship in our country, in the Bahamas?
Okay, but let's go over that again, because see, it says that the person can make such declaration that
Right.
they are not able to do it. But
Right.
that does not mean that they would automatically get it.
Mhm.
Because the Constitution says specifically, you must renounce the citizenship of that other country. That is spelled out in plain language in the document. So you can't just close your eye to that and say, ignore it. That's foolish.
Okay.
Okay, so I only can answer according to the Constitution as is,
Mhm.
and that is final. Now you may have some other people who got some other ideas in their head, which is not based on law,
Okay.
and that creates another problem.
What does the law mean when it says that a person is entitled to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas? What does that mean exactly?
That's a good question that you asked. What it does mean is the person has a right to it.
Mhm.
When you entitled, see, you will notice that the way how it is written in the Constitution, I have to accept the Constitution as is, because I can't just remove it.
Mhm.
I don't have any authority to do that. It says, upon making application, this person is entitled to citizenship or to be registered as a citizen of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's spelled out in clear language in the Constitution.
Mhm.
But now you're going to see that where we are now, this right to have it is subject to something. Yes, you have a right, but now it is subject to these, well, basically two different things. National security and public safety. Now, I don't know, Ms. Malcolm, how much of that we were doing.
Okay, let's stick a pin in that
Yeah.
right there. We have a cell phone caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good day, Lady Malcolm.
Hi.
I'm Professor McArthur Walter Sidney Thompson.
Yes, sir. What did you say?
Yeah, you're doing an excellent job with explaining the Constitution, but I have heard a lot of people with this argument that the renouncing part of it here in the Bahamas. But what we are forgetting is that there is something in the Bahamas called the Haitian Embassy, the consulate. And anything on that property is Haitian, considered Haitian soil. So if a Haitian wants to renounce his citizenship of Haiti, All he has to do is report to the consulate or the consulate, whoever that person is there, and renounce from there. Paperwork would then be forwarded to wherever it needs to go. That is one mistake that I think some of us who are talking about that is making. He can go to the Haitian embassy on Haitian soil and renounce his citizenship. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, thank you for calling.
Okay, well, thank you very much, caller.
Any response other than that?
Well, let me just say, as I understand it, the embassy represents that particular country.
Right.
And so they would have that right to act in that particular area, wherever they happen to be located, on behalf of that country or on behalf of any citizen of that country. So it would be as if the government of that particular country is doing it, even though they have a representative here in the Bahamas, in the embassy, doing it on their behalf.
So we have been hearing allegations of fraud as it relates to the to many persons attaining status in this country.
Yes.
What should be done if fraud is involved in a person obtaining citizenship?
What should be done with that is you have to move on it immediately, because fraud is a very serious thing, particularly when it comes to citizenship. And the authorities have to act on it. Whatever may have been given should be canceled immediately, because it was obtained by fraud. In other words, it's like you have a piece of paper in your pocket, and it looks like real money, but it isn't. But you got $100 by fraud, because you presented something that looked like $100, and you changed it with somebody else, and now they got the fraud, the false paper in their pocket. So when something is obtained by fraud, it's not valid. So it should be withdrawn immediately in a situation like that.
All right, we have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS. Caller, you still there? You need to turn down whatever you're listening to us on, please. We're getting feedback. Turn your radio down and then speak.
Hello?
Hi. Please turn
Yes,
your
good
radio.
morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, Ms. Malcolm. Mr. Malcolm.
Please turn your radio down or whatever you're listening to us on. We're getting feedback.
All right.
And go ahead.
Good afternoon, Sister Malcolm.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Professor Sydney.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, I just want to send an honor for Freeport. I just want to know if y'all are familiar. They had a immigration and people who didn't have no papers and trying to find out information in Freeport, Bahama, 8 Mile Walk the other day. I just want to know how that went, because my knowledge, man, if they want any kind of help, they start off like the gentleman said, the Haitian embassy, because if they don't, the Bahamas government say all the government parties is going to be there. The 8 Mile High School, and they're gonna have different people and bring your ID and all that there. But everything still gonna start off from Haiti, and Haiti closed down, and Haiti shut down, and they ain't doing none of these things. So I want to know how they went with that. I mean, and how that goes. If you're familiar about it, Ms. Malcolm.
We're not talking about immigration today. We're talking about the Constitution of the Bahamas. Okay?
Yeah, we got it. Some immigration is constitution, right?
No.
Oh.
That is an aspect of it, but we're not getting bogged down into the details of what should happen in a case like that, because that's not what we're talking about today.
I still wanted to find out if how successful they was pulling that off. If they pull it off, the government parties was in Freeport, Bahama the other day, and that's my 2 cents on. I ain't got too much thought for the Constitution, because I don't really know the Bahamas Constitution. I grew up in the States, and I really didn't learn.
So all the more reason, sir, why you need to stop talking and listen, because that's what this show is about. Okay? Yeah,
I will do that. Have a good day.
If you do so, you learn something about the Constitution. That's the purpose of the show, to educate you about the Constitution. And you know, we get distracted very easily in this country, get bogged down very easily in this country. You know.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn about the Constitution, listen. That's what this show is all about. Okay? But we're not going to get bogged down into what took place in a particular place about the immigration officers, and that ain't about it. That's not today. No. Okay? That's not the purpose of this show today. All right, so let's continue. We are uncovering Article 5.3 of the Constitution. As you may be aware, we're going through the Constitution line by line, article by article, and we're currently in Article 5.3. And so my next question is, what can the Bahamian people do to assist the government in relationship to citizenship issues covered by 5.3?
Yes, that's a good question. And the thing is that you mentioned earlier about the distraction. Bahamians are easily distracted.
Very.
That's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to look at what the Constitution says, a national commitment to do some specific things, in this case, national commitment to unity. You're going to have to assist the government of the Bahamas in being able to, you see anything that's untoward happening in your community, or you have information.
Talking to that mic.
You have information that can be helpful to the authorities in relation to citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Because some funny things have been happening. I know some came to me and I had to deal with that. You ought to assist and help the authorities in this country, because we have to collectively protect the interests of the Bahamian people.
All right.
We have to do that.
We have another call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, Ms. Malcolm, Sister Malcolm. This is Hannah again. I just want to apologize and just tone in and not knowing what y'all talking about. And I just want to apologize. Never want to have you upset, and never want to show you that I don't listen. I listen a lot. That's why I listen to your show. But to be blunt, Sister Malcolm, our Constitution, everything is messed right up. So yeah, have a good day.
No, let Ms. Malcolm, I have to comment on that.
All right. And for the record, no apology necessary, but that the whole purpose of these shows is to help you to better understand what the Constitution says and means. But go ahead, Professor.
No, I have to, because see, I can understand maybe how the gentleman feels, because I have come across a number of people who tell me that kind of thing. And I want to help them to understand. He says it's all messed up. There's nothing wrong with the Constitution. It's an excellent document. Maybe what he has been told about it may be messed up. All right? And so if he listens, as you said he ought to, and he said he would listen, he will learn plenty if he listened to this show when I'm here. The point is, your Constitution is your protection as a citizen. What if we didn't have it? You have nothing to work with. You get yourself in serious trouble. Your Constitution is there to defend your rights, your freedoms, your privileges. What if it was that the women fancy a particular individual? It's one way today, then this afternoon is something else different. You'll be in trouble. The dictatorship. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, if we as citizens were to monitor it, listen to what your leaders are saying, your elected leaders, your elected representatives, listen to what the government is saying, that's the cabinet, all of them. And once you get to know certain things about your Constitution, you could tell your representative point blank, that's unconstitutional. Now, you get shocked at the beginning. You'll get used to it.
Well,
because see, I could tell them right up front to their face
that
they're wrong. Because see, I know better. You aren't going to tell me any kind of nonsense and expect me to swallow it, because I'm not going to do that. So we need to get others, 150,000 or more like us, to be able to make the necessary change. You're going to see real change when Bahamians get to know this document. You'll see real change.
Because quite frankly, ignorance of law does not negate the law.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't negate
So just
the
because
law
you
at
don't know
all.
what's in there, don't mean it don't apply to you.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point. So what has to happen, therefore, is I can understand the frustration of a lot of people when one gentleman told me just a piece of paper. But I didn't get vexed with him because I know better than that. Now, he is just misled. He is deceived. So my duty is when I come on these shows is to help the masses. See, I want to reach the masses. So I'm going to make it as simple and basic and fundamental as I possibly can so that they can get it. You know, the woman with the 5 children in Baintown, she's trying to scrap to get something to feed those hungry boys.
Right.
So she got the radio on. See, I can hear what Professor can say about the Constitution. And if I give her accurate and precise information, she can work with it right there and then. But if someone gives her false information, how she can work with it? She's confused.
But
so
see,
I'm not going to do that.
The statement that that's just a piece of paper shows you that people who have that kind of attitude really don't understand the value
of the document.
That's
so
correct. What, as a Bahamian, how valuable is citizenship to us?
That's a good question. To me, Professor Sidney McArthur of Thompson, listen, man, extremely valuable. I am just disappointed that we have such a big problem in our country with citizenship, and it has to be changed. It has to be corrected. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. The Bahamian people have to wake up and demand that it be dealt with. And there are things we can do about that. We can confront the government. The government of Bahamas and say, no. We can't go that way. See, I can do that. And others can do it too. I got no more rights than them, and they ain't got no more rights than me. But it's just that having the information and understanding what it is you need to do. That's why I'm campaigning now to get more people to understand. And I will keep on, because we're going to win this war. We can't lose this one after 56 years. No way. It's too long, Ms. Malcolm. And too many people have died. You know how many people were born in this country? I mean, real Bahamians now. I ain't talking about that other group. Who look for a better day. I thank God for mommy and daddy who caused me to be educated. Were it not for them, I tell God all the time, give me mommy, give me daddy again. Because I really appreciated the great work that they did on me, because they had 9 pigeons and 3 grand pigeons. That's a total of 12. And they did an excellent job. And I think about it just about every day, the work that my mother and father did with what they had in their hand to help 12 of their children. It really was monumental.
Right.
I will always be grateful for what they did. So because of that, I now got to help my brothers and sisters out there who do not understand. So I'm going to work seriously to help them.
All right. Wow, this is good stuff. So before we take this break, I want to encourage you to be prepared to tune in this evening for the Optimus Bahamas virtual town meeting on the question, should we vaccinate and mask our children? A very important question that needs to be answered by all of you parents out there. That is this evening at 7 p.m. And it's going to be done virtually on Zoom. The Zoom ID, you want to take a note of this real quick, 871-7433-1313. Again, 871-7433-1313. You can always check optimusbahamas.com for more details. The presenters for this evening will be Dr. Leonardo Culmer, Dr. Kevin Bethel, and Mr. Mark Palmer, and yours truly will be the moderator for the evening. So that's under the topic, should we vaccinate and mask children? A virtual town meeting held by Optimus Bahamas. Be sure to make plans to tune in, because you're going to get some serious information that will help you make one of the most important decisions of your life. Stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Blood sugar levels play a key role in your appetite, weight gain, and overall health. When you have a blood sugar spike, you can feel confused, dizzy, and even have increased cravings. Eating carbohydrates, sugary or fatty foods, and not exercising can all cause blood sugar spikes. But now you have help in managing blood sugar levels. Sweeties by Longevity was designed to help support healthy blood sugar levels so you can power through your day. It's a synergistic blend of minerals, herbs, and nutrients that have been proven to support healthy blood sugar levels. Sweeties includes chromium, an essential trace mineral that's known for its contribution to healthy blood sugar levels and improved metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Cinnamon bark has been included for its naturally occurring antioxidants and support of a healthy heart. And we've even added gymnema. It's been used in Ayurveda for centuries to help promote healthy blood sugar. All the ingredients in Sweeties work together to give the best support available for blood sugar control. Sweeties, the blood sugar support supplement from Youngevity that helps control cravings and manage blood sugar levels through your day. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, tints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Track Life, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blasted love.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Even everyday exercise can lead to wear and tear on your body. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
GPS is brought to you by the Optimus Bahamas virtual town meeting on the topic, Should We Vaccinate and Mask Children? Monday, November 7th, 7 p.m. Visit OptimusBahamas.com for details. Optimus Bahamas, sharing our community's strengths and stories.
All right, welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here, along with Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson. We are talking about the Constitution of the Bahamas, more specifically, breaking down Article 5.3 of the Constitution. The telephone numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260271. 3260272, 3260272. The WhatsApp line for text messages only is 801-0271, 801-0271. All right, let's get back to business as we discuss Article 5.3 of the Constitution of the Bahamas. My next question is, how much emphasis, Professor, is placed on national security and public safety as it relates to citizenship issues?
I've thought about that seriously. And I question it because of the condition I see the country in today.
Mm-hmm.
As I understand it now, not enough effort is being put on national security, which is a very serious matter,
Mm-hmm.
and public safety, the safety of the people. You got all kind of funny things happening in other places,
Mm-hmm.
where you got fellas just rushing into the public and something untoward happens.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to see that happen in the Bahamas. So we have to help our people to see the importance. Those who are given the responsibility to govern this country, they're the ones who have to carry out this responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Not any and everybody could do it. If they got the wrong set of people in there, they got to make a replacement, because it's a very serious matter. The national security of this country, the safety of the public as they go and move around in their various communities, is of extreme importance they have to be looking over their shoulder thinking one terrorist fella got one bomb blow up. Now, Bahamians would never do something like that. Now, some might take exception to that. That's not in the Bahamian psyche. But then you got all kind of other people out there who want to come this way, and they have their own reasons why they want to come this way. So we have to be very careful as to what we're doing. And so I believe greater emphasis should be placed on those persons who are going to be applying when it comes to the national security and the public safety of the Bahamian people. All you need is just one mistake to be made, and we could have a tragedy. And I certainly don't want to see that.
I don't think any of us do.
That's definitely right. So we have to, the Bahamian people got to start waking up and say, listen, we have to know this document so we can help the elected authorities of this country to do a better job. Because with citizenship, as it stands now, we have too many issues that need to be dealt with.
All right. Well, I think that we have time to turn our attention to Article 5.4. We still have another 25 minutes left on the show, so I think we pretty adequately covered 5.3.
No, you did.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to 5.4, and I'll go ahead and read it. Article 5.4 of the Constitution says, any application for registration under paragraph 2 of this article shall be subject to such exceptions or qualifications as may be prescribed in the interests of national security or public policy. I'll read that again. Any application for registration under paragraph 2 of this article shall be subject to such exceptions or qualifications as may be prescribed in the interests of national security or public policy.
Yes.
All right, let's break that down.
The thing is that you go back to Article 5 too. That has to do with persons under the Immigration Act. We know that, right? Those persons, of course, would have to renounce the citizenship of that other country.
Go closer to the mic for me, the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. This
Right.
one right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. No, the persons would have to renounce, right, the citizenship of that other country. They're here ordinarily resident, meaning they're living in the Bahamas. So if they want to apply, fine. Okay. But their application has to be scrutinized. Even though they were working here, they may appear. There's some things you might not even know. And so you have to look into those things for the safety of your country, because these persons want to be citizens, not a problem, but the proper checks have to be made on these individuals so that we do not have a major problem. And unfortunately, as it stands now, we do have a major problem. Big problem. So even though the Constitution allowed those persons to become citizens, see, I think the Constitution wanted to be fair to people who were working here from these different entities or nations, some of them former Commonwealth countries. But now they have citizenship and they want to be citizens of the Bahamas. And I like the way how the document is set up. I like it very much, because it gives people an opportunity to make a choice. But then even though you have that, you got another group that think they have a right, but there's no basis for it. We have seen no evidence whatsoever in any of these articles which quantify that. So right there, we got to deal with that issue. But the point is that they are subject, the right to become a citizen is subject to national security, public policy, public safety. because the interest of the nation has to be protected. And I am of the view, based on what I know and understand, that that has not always been the case, right from the very beginning.
Okay. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Malcolm.
Hi.
Good afternoon, the professor.
Yay, how are you?
You know, I always enjoy listening to him, and so
yeah.
You don't worry about the people, Mr. Thompson. You know, I know you have a panoramic view of the Constitution. I've read Keisha Ellis Lehman's book, right? And so, you know, I'd mentioned something that I think Michelle Malcolm had mentioned earlier in the show. But this is a scenario, and I learned this because I had a Haitian American girlfriend, but she was actually born a Haitian American Bahamian. So I don't know what that is, but she was born here in Freeport, and she left at the early age of maybe, let's say 2, 3, somewhere around there, and then she spent close to, like I said, almost 30 years in the States, right?
Yeah.
Or more. And she came back here less than 10 years ago, and so she was married, and so her father's a Thompson, right? I don't know if you want to investigate that. Her father's a Thompson, but the thing is, I wanted you to comment on this because then we know that at 18 they have the right to apply, but we see a lot of Haitian Americans Haitian American women coming back with American accents. They born here, but they didn't grow up here. They were absent for like 20, 30 years, and they come back here. I'd like you to comment on the right to citizenship, and also the fact that the Haitian Constitution grants them citizenship wherever they are. So what most people don't realize, right, Ms. Malcolm, is that it's a financial construct in order to be financially gainful for them. So there's a reason for that. So how constitutional is that in the fact that they allow their citizenship, but I hear you talking about renunciation. Can you expand on the legality? Because it's quite complex for me, who've only had a few cursory looks at the glance at the Constitution. I'll just hang up and listen.
All right, thanks for calling.
Okay, let me just answer it this way. The Constitution of the Bahamas doesn't support dual citizenship. That's point number one. You've had persons who, now see, another thing what is a misconception, Bahamians, not everyone born in the Bahamas has a right to Bahamian citizenship. The Constitution doesn't support that either. That's why you have, you know, that's what we were going through the articles on citizenship, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some very specific things that have to be met in order to qualify for citizenship.
Right.
So if those things are entrenched in the Constitution and they could change them by a referendum, it tells you clearly that there are some who will not qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody just rushing up and showing up on the shores, and then you have a lot of misinformation where people lie to you. It has happened to me. Because people want to be citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, but they would do it fraudulently and expect you to support them. Tell them I'm an officer of the law, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what he's saying, but I think the specifics of that particular person has to be looked at.
So I'm going, go ahead, finish the point.
In order to be able to see whether they qualify or not. I heard what he said, but I know with a lot of people who have come to me, because I remember another fella, he wanted to do something,
mm-hmm.
and I asked him a few questions, and he never returned. He was supposed to come back to see me, but he never showed up.
Right.
So, you know, some people have some very ulterior motives, which are not good for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
They have selfish interests, and they will use fraud to be able to try to slip through.
So what are some of the restrictions that ought to be considered?
The restrictions that have to be considered would be the interests of the country, national security,
Mm-hmm.
public safety.
Okay.
See, the thing is that if we do not examine the applicant, and this is what I want the Bahamians to understand,
Mm-hmm.
and we just allow them to slip through, we don't do any homework. We're not being diligent in what we're doing to see whether this person really fits. And what is it that we want? what kind of person do we want to be citizens of Bahamas? Would we just want any and everybody to be a citizen of Bahamas?
Right.
Is that what we want?
Because I've heard the argument that we'd need about 1 million, at least 1 million more people in order for us to progress and all this kind of stuff, right? And people like to use Singapore as an example of that, or Dubai, where most of the residents are not native to Dubai, but yet the societies are so successful. And my comeback to that is always, did they try to attract just bodies, or did they try to attract persons who could help to build their nation? And when I say build the nation, I'm not just talking about providing cheap labor.
Yes.
I'm talking about bringing something to the table that will help to advance your nation other than just, for want of a better word, slave labor.
I agree with you, Ms. Malcolm, and that is the type of approach we ought to take here. Now, I've heard people talk about the Singapore thing, but you know, I get worried of that kind of thinking, because what we need to do is write in our Constitution, in the preamble. You couldn't get a better document than that. It tells us what we need to do in order to have a strong nation. There are some national commitments that we have to do as a people. So if we were to follow them, as we ought to follow them, then we won't be having this problem we have today. What quality people are we interested in having in our country? Now, I understood in that country in Dubai, they have persons who work there, but they're not necessarily citizens. Now, see, in our country, we have some weaknesses that Bahamians got to learn to understand. See, the Constitution about national commitment to unity. We got to have that in order to protect the interests of the country. You can't be doing some other funny things and letting people slip through with a couple of dollars in your hand. What is our commitment to the national interests of the Bahamian people? Or are we interested in only what we can get for ourselves, or myself, me, myself, and I? See, we have to be, I don't think we have, the government, this is a view that I have in my head. I have not seen the government of the Bahamas do anything as relates to the national commitments that are mentioned in the Constitution. National commitment to unity, national commitment to self-discipline. You see all this crime we have around here? Where is the national commitment to self-discipline? See, these are things, I don't know why we always want to look at what them other people doing in their country. Do they ask us anything here? Say, what you all doing over there? Nobody's asked us anything. They try to push things on us. But we are being allowed to be pushed away from these foundational principles that are entrenched in our Constitution, which would guarantee our freedom and security if we follow them out. So I don't know why we got to go look to Singapore. Singapore for what? They're on the other side of the world. See how God set it up? He set some people over there. So you all stay on that side. I can put you all on this side. He has given every single grouping of persons their place on the planet. We have ours there, a unique place. We aren't even considering that. What is in our best interest? We have what we need right here in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, and we have a beautiful document. It is always right. Now, I didn't say it's perfect now. So you got to understand how I'm putting this thing together. It is always right. It is never, ever wrong. And like I said, 7-1, when we come to that, I would like to see that change and put in more clear language so there's no further abuse with that article. We can plug that one up.
All right.
To solve that foolishness.
So let's get back to Article 5.4 when it speaks to national security. What is national security?
That has to do with the safety of the country, its borders, See, you can have an individual in your country that can cause a lot of problems, who may be, quote unquote, a citizen. Or the person might be even a visitor or a permanent resident, because you have that also. I am saying that the security of your country is of extreme importance. And of course, they say we got these porous borders. But there's a way to protect that, you know. You see, I think sometimes we just keep thinking a certain way, which kind of keep pulling us down, and we're not saying, listen, God has given us 700 islands plus scattered over 100,000 square miles of water. Why would God give that to the Bahamian people if he knew they couldn't handle it? God doesn't make those kind of mistakes. We're right next to the greatest nation on the planet. You know how many people envy us?
Just the geography.
Just the geography of God gave it to us. He said, I can give it to these same Bahamian people. You'll handle it. And we have ways and means of protecting all that water we got out there. But are we prepared to do what is necessary? See, you got to take responsibility. As an independent nation, you got to take responsibility for the national security of your country. You just can't sit back and say, we can't do this or we can't do that, because we'll never do it. We have to take some bold steps in moving the country forward with all this new technology we got around here.
Like we did during the highlight of the drug trade.
Of course.
America and the Bahamas came together to
Of
set
course.
up OPAT.
Yes.
And prior to that, I mean, you know, it was a huge problem after
Big
OPAT
problem.
started to crack down.
Exactly.
That slowed it down significantly.
Slowed it down significantly, yes.
Mhm.
And so that's why we have to make some hard decisions for the security of the country. We just can't say that the borders are porous. Oh, they're just wide or anything. No. God gave us the islands. He gave us these oceans for a specific reason. We got to understand what we have. A lot of us don't even understand what we have.
All right. And the same token, I want you to break down what is public safety.
Public safety has to do with the public being in an environment where they can move freely without having to keep looking over their shoulder that someone won't kill them or blow them up or interfere with their movement, because the Constitution gives freedom of movement in this country. And you should not have no fear, Ms. Malcolm. You're living in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's not the way we were brought up. That should not be. So we are accustomed to a certain lifestyle, a certain way that we lived, and we want to keep that. We don't want to be a situation where we are constantly looking over your shoulder, boy, I ain't sure, or have a mistrust of somebody who's standing next to you. You're always fearful. Come on now. That ought not to be. That is why when you look at the document, you will see certain things we must do. The government of Bahamas has to be involved in it, ought to be involved in it. National commitment to do some specific things. I have never seen it done, not in the Bahamas. And as young as I am, I've never seen it. But that's something we have to look at. National commitment to self-discipline. We don't have enough of that. National commitment to unity. Now, we got to get united. I asked some time ago, what is it that could unite all the Bahamian people? Virtually 100%. I want the Bahamian people to think about that. Is there any one thing that could unify the people of the Commonwealth? Yes, there is one thing that could do that. Now, I can tell you what it is now. I want you to think about that, because we have something that could unify us. But are we interested in being unified, or we want to keep juggling up and down and making confusion for the next 56 years? That doesn't mean anything. We're coming up on 50 years. What have we achieved in 50 years? As far as being a unified people is concerned, is there anything we could point to and say, this is that which could unify the Bahamian people? So we got to think seriously about our country because we got to take it forward. We can't just stay here and just exist or have the name Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And that's a beautiful name, by the way. I love it.
All right, we run out of time. I have time for one more question.
Oh, okay.
What, you wanted to say one more thing?
No, but you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we only have time for one more question, and that
Yes,
is
ma'am.
this. The Constitution speaks to the exception and questions as pertaining to the applicant. Should this be a rigid process?
Yes.
Why?
It should be because it is in the interests of the Bahamian people.
Mm-hmm.
All right? If you take that lightly, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the world the way it is now, Ms. Malcolm, you can't afford that. Some things which we may have taken lightly in the past, we got to tighten up. Things are very different. Like I always say to Bahamian people, when you look at the Constitution, you look at the office of Prime Minister, Ms. Malcolm, if we get the wrong personality in that office, and they see the kind of power they have and could use it for selfish purposes, we can be in trouble. That's a fact. The powers are wide open and very little restrictions, if any. Because the way how the system operates now, it is not operating. The only persons who really have any control is the representative House of Assembly. And they're looking to that particular personality to get one job, a government contract, or one chairman of one board, or whatever it might be, because he got all kind of plums he could hand out, right? But then what about the interests of the country? Are we going to benefit because of your personal interests? That doesn't make any sense. So when the personal interest of a representative supersedes the interest of his constituents, that's poor representation. And then by contrast, if the interest of a particular personality in the administration of government, his personal interest supersedes that of the interest of the Bahamian people, we're in trouble.
Professor, as always, it's been a tremendous pleasure. We
Yes, ma'am.
got as far as 5-4. We wanted to get through 5-5 today, but we didn't
Yes.
make it all the way there. So whenever you're back in studio, we're
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
pick up at 5-5,
5-5, yes,
okay? And see if we can get through that. So thank you, as always, for being here and for shedding so much knowledge
Yes, ma'am.
on such an important thing, the Constitution of the
Very
Bahamas.
important.
All right, so I want you guys to join this evening at 7 p.m. Optimus Bahamas is hosting a virtual town meeting on the question, should we vaccinate and mask children? That starts at 7 p.m. It's going to be on Zoom. The Zoom ID is 871-7433-1313. Again, 871-7433-1313. There will be a time for question and answers, so be sure to tune in. The guest presenters are Dr. Leonardo Culmer, Dr. Kevin Bethel, Mr. Mark Palmer. They will make some time at the end of the presentation for a question and answer segment, and yours truly will be moderating the evening. So be sure to tune in. You will not regret it. You're going to get some pertinent information to help you make a more informed decision as to whether or not you should be considering vaccinating or masking children. All right, so that's this evening at 7 o'clock on Zoom, the Optimus Bahamas virtual town meeting. Be sure to tune in. You will not regret it. Remember now, the theme of Optimus Bahamas, sharing our community's strength and stories. 7 o'clock this evening. I hope to see you all there. Until such time, I'm Michelle Malcolm. My time is gone here on GPS today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks again to Professor Sidney McArthur Walter Thompson for joining us on the show today. Tomorrow, we're going to have another great show planned for you. I'm trying to put together a show based on hurricane preparedness. to make sure you guys are doing what you need to be doing to be ready for this storm that's coming. Until then, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.